All right, let's get started. Are you ready to go? Okay, this is working. All right, it is now 5:06. Let's get this meeting started. Yeah, I get to use a hammer. Hello, is this mic working? It's already 5:06. Let's get this meeting started. This is the public comment for the 2025 general obligation bond for the January 7th. For January 27, 2025 is called to order. All items being considered this evening are posted on the PPS website under the Board and Meetings tab. This meeting is being streamed live on PPS TV, services, website, and on Channel 28. And will be replayed throughout the next 2 weeks. Please check the district website for replay times. All right, good evening and welcome. The purpose of tonight's public comment is to hear feedback from the proposed 2025 general obligation bond package. We will hear comments until 5:45 tonight, and then we'll break for 15 minutes before our 6 p.m. board meeting begins. Before we begin, I would like to review some guidelines for public comment. First, the board thanks you for taking the time to attend this meeting and providing your comments. Public input, especially from our students, informs and improves our work, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts and reflections. If you have materials you would like to the board to receive, handouts, pictures, etc., please do not come up to the dais. Please hand them to our board manager, Ms. Bradshaw, which is over there. And she will distribute them to us. Thank you. If you have additional materials or items you would like to provide to the board or superintendent, we ask that you email them to publiccomment, all one word, at pps.net. Please make sure when you begin your comments that you clearly state your name and spell your last name. You will have 2 minutes to speak. You will hear a sound after 2 minutes, which means you'll need to conclude your comment. All right, let's start calling people off the list. Who do we have first?
Okay. I'm Chair Wong. Will I still call multiple people at a time as we do in the regular meeting in sections? Okay. John Charles, Evan Juniman, Keisha Kemper,
Thank you. Am I on? Did I press this? My name is John Charles, Cascade Policy Institute, a nonprofit policy research organization. Charles is spelled C-H-A-R-L-E-S. I've followed this issue carefully for the last year, attended or watched all of your meetings. I would like to see you pass a bond. I don't think you can pass this bond. It's too big, it's too complicated. I can't understand Exhibit B or any of your materials about it. It's deliberately written vaguely, so vague I can't understand it. So I'd like to suggest that since you don't actually have to vote this out until the 28th of February, that you send it back to committee, taking into consideration all the testimony you'll receive tonight, and that you make it simple, put in fully funding for the last 2 high schools, Ida B. Wells and Cleveland, priced at something that is defensible, that has an actual methodology behind it, and also include the $79 million for athletic fields that is in the current proposal. I think all of that could be done for probably under $800 million. And I think those are tangible capital projects that can easily be understood by people. You would make thousands of registered voters really happy. They would show up and vote yes. Their friends would show up and vote yes. And you would get a win. So take the win. 1.8 billion of something that almost is indecipherable is likely to lose, and I think losing would be catastrophic. So do something simple. I don't think even the curmudgeonly voters in the district would leave the last 2 schools behind. They've been waiting. They deserve to be funded. Keep it simple. And I think you'll get support. Thank you.
My name Zevin Juneman, Juenemann, and I'm a senior at Cleveland High School. All throughout my time in high school, the future modernization of Cleveland has constantly been talked about. We knew it was on the horizon, but also that it experienced like so many delays in the past. It wasn't until my junior year last year that I actually began to see progress be made. Through my involvement in affinity groups at the school, I was able to participate in very many listening sessions with After Bruce, the group tasked with bringing community feedback to the architects designing the new building. In these sessions, I was able to see a lot of good, honest work in reaching out to students and teachers to make sure that the new building met the many needs of the student body. In particular, the team did a good job integrating concerns about the accessibility for disabled and neurodivergent students, an area where our current building is desperately lacking. Those sessions, alongside design advisory group meetings, continued from the spring of the previous school year into the fall of the current year. It felt like we were really able to get a design done and a plan put out. We were expecting, in fact, that we would see our school put on the bond during the November 2024 election. When we learned that we would be put on the bond in May, there were some concerns about this hesitancy, but we felt okay knowing that the May bond would still allow construction to begin in 2026. After that, however, things really only got more concerning. The board decided that they wished to reduce the amount of money spent on the new bond from around $450 million for Cleveland to around $350 million. What concerns me about this is that while I will be a taxpayer by May, as I turn 18 in April, I would much rather see a school be built that lasts than an arbitrary amount of money saved. From all the work I've seen done on the design for the new building, I can see that there is simply no way for that much money to be saved without sacrificing the basic needs of the students. The reason Cleveland is such an expensive building is that it took so long to get to the point of building it. Delaying the building to save money will only lead to more money spent on planning, higher construction costs, and all of that. Comparable building designs like that of Lincoln would have cost as much as Cleveland if built in 2026, the current year, when the construction will happen. The way to save money in the long term on planning, repairs, loss of students, and etc., and to give students the building that they deserve, is to ask voters to give Cleveland a admittedly somewhat expensive $450 million building in May, because the voters care about students.
Good evening. My name is Keska Kemper. My last name is spelled Kemper. I am a Southeast Portland resident, a parent of 2 Cleveland cluster students, and an 18-year veteran biology and physics teacher at Cleveland High School. I'm here tonight to urge the superintendent and board to prioritize rebuilding Cleveland High School as soon as possible to the same standards and supporting the range of programming built in the 5 other high school rebuilds. The current projected cost for the proposed Cleveland High School redesign, $460 million, is a stunningly large number. At first glance, the proposal to shift funds towards other priorities seems like a prudent fiscal choice. However, I believe that on many counts, at this point in time, a shift in budget priorities would be an incredibly poor choice from the district. First, Cleveland has been redesigned not once, not twice, but 3 times. To throw out the current plans designed to meet the board's own requirements and approved by the board last spring is wasting hundreds of hours of community time and over, if you count all of those together, $25 million plus of taxpayer money. Second, PPS board, you do not already have this bond money. Undercutting the budget for the high school rebuilds this late in the project does not make Portland Public Schools look fiscally savvy. It strains Portlanders' trust in district decision making. Most importantly, right now, Portland Public School Board, you have valuable momentum from taxpayers. After seeing these 5 high schools rebuilt, Portlanders are expecting and planning to pass a bond for the last 2 high school rebuilds. And the implied contract when PPS outlined the ed specs was that all of the high schools would meet these fair and necessary building requirements. Building earthquake-safe buildings is both necessary and makes Portland one of the most expensive areas of the U.S. to build. Comparing our building costs here to the rest of the U.S. is an unreasonable comparison. The costs of building have skyrocketed. If we were to build Grant or Lincoln or Roosevelt today, they would also be quoted with this $460 million price tag. The proposals for Wells and Cleveland are not inequitable. They are the 2016 Portland rebuild reality. Building high schools that do not meet this board's own standards would be a regrettable and short-sighted choice. Thanks.
Cal Ford, Jamie Miller, and Lisa Jackson.
Good evening. My name is Callisto Ford. My last name is Ford. I'm a junior at Cleveland High School and vice president of my school's Disabled and Neurodivergent Student Union. This is my third year at Cleveland and my third year of compensating every day for the ways this building falls short of my and every other student's needs. My freshman year, teachers jokingly showed off the tiles that had fallen from their ceiling. My sophomore year, the culinary classes had to move outside of the school for 3 months because rats kept getting in. Before I give this year's example, I want you to know what our elevator is like on the days it works the best. The tiles are a lot darker than the ones in the hallway because they never get cleaned. Residue from years of use has built up at the seam between the walls and floor. It shakes and stalls on a good day and shudders and stops before blaring a loud alarm for 30 seconds that no one can explain on a bad one. It's slow enough that my teachers know to expect me to be a few minutes late, even if I leave my lunch or previous class early. To top it off, we only have the one elevator, so it functions as freight and passenger, meaning students, staff, and our custodians all share it. For 2 weeks, during late September and early October, our elevator broke. For the kids who can handle the stairs with some help from a friend or paraeducator, it was manageable. But one of my friends who uses a wheelchair missed 2 weeks of all of his classes on the 3rd floor. My biology class was on the 3rd floor. I had been taking IBHL at the time, and because of the time I missed, the work became unmanageable and I had to drop the class. Our school has one wheelchair accessible entrance, and it's all the way around the block from the main one. Some of the classrooms are fully inaccessible by wheelchair. Quite a few of the stairs have no railings, only wide, rounded banisters. Our school is not only inaccessible, inconvenient, and unintuitive, but a safety hazard and barrier to learning for our disabled students. To us, the Cleveland rebuild is long overdue, and cost-cutting and delays only increase the disservices this building inflicts upon disabled students. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Miller, Miller, and I'm the theater director at Ida B. Wells Barnett. As a 22-year PPS VAPA and CTE teacher, father to 2 PPS students, husband to a PPS teacher, a 7-year veteran of IBW modernization committees, and a member of the Arts Education Advisory Council, I'm here to ask for attention to and to advocate for full equity across the 9 PPS high schools. The currently advocated budget of $340-ish million seems to account for that equity if your formula is the cost of Lincoln in 2020 plus an approximate 37% increase in the cost of building materials since then. That fails to take into account further inflationary pressures of the next 3 to 5 years, a seemingly unaccounted for increase in non-materials costs, and no yet stated accountability for prior lessons learned and design mistakes from some of the earlier builds. All of this would be necessary to effect a state of equity with the currently modernized schools, that the final schools, in your words, Superintendent Armstrong, will be, quote, built for 1700 and will have all the bells and whistles that all the other schools do, if not more, unquote. The second equity point is one of timing and revolves around the fact that until these projects are completed, PPS is in a state of have-not depending on where your address is, a point this board has worked passionately to nullify. By the time a new IBW opens, it will have been a full decade since the first modernization, meaning our community will have been making do in antiquated, occasionally unhealthful, and generally uncomfortable conditions, and yet getting its students into some of the leading learning opportunities in the country. Every moment of delay in meeting our prior modernization commitments grows that inequity. If these goals of capacity and timing can be met while reducing costs as proposed, awesome. I ask only that those goals are centered as guiding principles. My concern, and I think it's appropriate to say the shared concern of multiple departmental colleagues and parent groups, is that these goals won't be met, and many of the cost savings will be met on the backs of the programs that keep students coming to school every day, and specifically, if not occasionally single-handedly, addressing the majority of the graduate portrait, the programs that require the most specialized construction: athletics, PE, CTE, and visual and performing arts. Thank you.
Apete Washde. My name is Lisa Jackson. My Dakota name is Dakota Wichichana Awashdewi. I'm an enrolled member and a full-blood Dakota Sioux of the Miniwaka Noyate. I reside here on the 9 Confederate tribes and their land. I want to start by reminding you of some dates. I want to start with 1988, which was the Indian Education Act. But I first and foremost want to start with 1851, when Portland Public School was founded. I am here to advocate for not only the indigenous community, but all the communities across the board. We have been here for 500+ years. We've asked you repeatedly as a community beyond my time of coming here to Portland. As a parent, I am asking you to request and understand that our Native American Student Success Center is what we need. I advocated with a few of you here in the community. I want to remind you that it is a treaty obligation to provide education. I want to remind you what kind of picture are we showing when we not are working together as one. I want to remind you as well as two of your bonds of us requesting for curriculum and facilities. I want to remind you of the SB 13, which is, since the time of immemorial, history, identity, language, genocide, federal policy and laws, treaties with the United States, life ways, tribal government, and our sovereignty. Thank you for allowing me to speak on the Native American Student Success Center that we've been advocating for the last 173 years. Thank you.
Tamara Brown, Noreen Smokey Smith, Ryder William.
Good evening. My name is Noreen Smokey Smith, SMOKEY-SMITH. I'm an enrolled member of the Washoe Tribe in Nevada and California, and my daughter is a Wilson High School graduate. I retired after 30 years as a Portland Public School educator. I'm the elder representative on the Indian Parent Committee, IPC, and have been advocating for Native children for nearly 50 years, as the need is great. This district is failing our Native students miserably. I need to address a few fallacies. One is that a proposal for a Native Center for Student Success is new, which is incorrect. It's an effort that's been led by Native elders like myself, Native students, parents, teachers, and staff, as well as the larger Native community. Nearly a year ago, several of our IPC members, including our student rep and myself, gave public testimony regarding this center to the Facilities and Operations Committee, and there was discussion among at least 3 of the current board members that were serving on the committee at the time. The second is that there are far more Native students in the district than has been reported. The Title VI Indian Education Program has over 500 students enrolled. There are many more who do not qualify for this federally funded program, but we need to serve all Native students. Please stop using selective data to rationalize your lack of action. To address the issue of funding the Native Center, solutions have been offered that include: 1, utilizing funding created by the estimated $97 million that is expected to be generated in interest from the bond; 2, to not increase the tax amount by extending the life of this bond; or 3, to consider reducing the large amount proposed for administrative services. Any of these 3 solutions provides ample funding to pay for all the items requested for this bond without excluding Native students, the one group that seems to remain invisible to the board. The Native Center utilizes capital expenses for a physical space, a facility, and with culturally sustaining curricular materials. Both are allowable expenses. As school board members, you have a legal and moral obligation to support the education of PPS Native students. I'm appalled that every area of the community or staff requested funding for in this bond is visible in the board materials, with one single exception: the proposal that centers the needs for Native American students. You can remedy this injustice now. Fund the Native Center for Student Success. We have waited 173 years for our Native children to be served well in this district. Please do not make us wait any longer. Thank you.
Greetings, PPS Board. My name is Tamara Brown, last name B-R-O-W-M. Thank you for allowing us to speak today about the Native Success Center for the Native Student Success Center. I'm a full-blooded Native American, born and raised in Portland. I'm Pawnee Oto from Oklahoma and Walker River Paiute from Nevada. I was a PPS student. I was an Indian Ed kid, attending Creston, Kellogg, and graduating from Benson. Scout Texters, and getting my undergrad from University of Washington. I have 3 kids. 3 kids. My oldest graduated class of 2024. Is currently at PCC. A daughter, 12, who's at Da Vinci, and a son, 9, who's at Whitman Elementary. Today I come to you as the interim Indian Parent Committee Chair. As the IPC, we advise Indian Education, Title 11, and the district in meeting the unique culturally realized academic needs. We as the IPC represent the stakeholders so often talked about. Being here today, I didn't know what I wanted to speak about. I have a phenomenal team that can provide you with all the stats, all the history, and the numbers to justify a request. Today, I would like to talk about experience. Growing up in PPS, K through 12, I was considered the token Native kid. A core memory for me was first grade in Creston, learning about the 7 C's. And Miss Meek asked, "What sea would you like to travel to?" I raised my hand. I was called upon. And before I could say where I wanted to go, my teacher said, "I bet we could all guess where Tamara would like to go." There was a pause, and she said, "The Indian Ocean." I said yes and sat down. Experience still haunts me today. Growing up, I was fortunate enough to spend my summers in Oklahoma and Nevada, learning from my family and my community, learning who I am. Thank you. When I returned back to school, I had this gut feeling of a sense of living in 2 worlds. No one really understood who I was, and I was looked to provide education to teachers about all different tribes as a kid. And my stock answer was always, we are all different. As I had my own kids, I was fortunate enough to take them back home and let them experience growing up as I did. Recently, this school year, as I cooked dinner, talking to my daughter, her conversation started with, "I feel like people don't get me. Well, there's no other Native kids around." My only response to her was that you live in two different feels like. I continue to tell her that I do why I do what I do, being on the IPC. To have a voice for her, the same as my father had for me, as he was the IPC treasurer for close to a decade. This sense we both have, and even my nephew, is why we need a center for Native students, to let them find each other and create an experience that doesn't involve the feeling of living in two worlds. Enhance their K-12 experience, and should this pass, let it enhance the experience of future Native students of PPS. My biggest fear is that I will have to have this conversation with my son. Let it be known the world of Oklahoma is not the same as Nevada, and Nevada is not the same as Oklahoma. And it is equally different than the Pacific Northwest. What I'm trying to convey to you guys is that PPS does not just serve kids from the Northwest, which can include 43 different tribes, or the 9 from Oregon, but there are 574 tribes within the U.S., and we are all different. PPS serves 4 tribes with my kids alone. We are unique in status, and we have all similar core values: family, culture, elders, and humor. And Portland is intertribal. And when we are together, we learn from each other and make valuable relationships that last a lifetime. We have made it known that our request will not increase the budget. My question to the board is that when others that sought out a similar, if not the same request, it came, why did it come so easy? Why do we have to fight so hard? So should this be our line item be added, you'll be showing commitment to PPS Native students and families. Again, thank you for your time. I hope the board will make the right decision for PPS Native students and families. And I hope you can increase their experience and enhance education. Thank you.
My name is Ryder Williams, Willims. I've been in PPS for most of my life, since 2nd grade. Growing up as a Native student here, it's been challenging, to say the least. There's not much representation for us in this school district, but there is representation for quite literally everything else. Growing up, I didn't have the support system that I needed. I had to use outside support systems, as in going to NAIA, driving from my school that would be in Southeast Portland to all the way to the airport, which doesn't really function well. Native students deserve a chance to have something accessible to them right there, something that's within arm's reach. It shouldn't take you having to go to a third-party resource for you to get the education and tutoring you need. And it shouldn't take board meetings like this to have your culture intertwined in a school and to have better resources for Native students. As I grew up, me and very few other Native students in school wouldn't talk about our Native heritage. At Franklin, on my last year before I went to Mount Scott Learning Center, my counselor, or a counselor, tried to gather me and 3 other Native students to talk about what it's like to be Native, essentially gathering every single Native student in the school. At that moment, I felt like a token. I felt like a resource that was being used to speak. I felt like a mascot, essentially. And knowing that I was being gathered with the 3 other Native students in my school as some sort of token hurt me. There is no direct resource for us. And even when there was a resource for us, it was somebody who'd come to our school once a month. Growing up, there was no Sun School classes for Native Americans. There is barely any Native American study in our curriculum. The only time I have seen Native American study in our curriculum has been in college, well after I have graduated. So what I ask is the reason we need this Native American Center for Youth is because it would keep all of the Native students connected. There wouldn't be such a divide, and there wouldn't be this emotional feeling of feeling like a token character or a mascot for your own culture. It would provide resources to help Native students out, where we would be able to work with people who align with our core values and culture, and be able to finally be comfortable with our culture. Thank you.
Our next three are virtual. We have Robin Butterfield.
I'm here.
Go ahead, Robin.
Go ahead. Okay. My name is Robin Butterfield, Butterfield. I am both Winnebago and Chippewa from the Midwest. My Indian name is Ahodu Kanabenga, which means shining wing, and I was given my Indian name in our feast lodge when I was in my 20s. I'm the second oldest of 7, all of whom attended what is now Ida B. Wells, but at the time, in 1967, was Wilson High School. I'm also grandmother of my granddaughter who attends the Portland Public School System, and the sister of Leslie Butterfield, who has been a building principal in a number of sites within the Portland Public Schools. What I want to speak to, of course, is in support of the Center for Native Student Success, but from the framework of providing professional development and understanding research about what works with Native children. I have been appointed by 4 presidents, starting with President Bush and currently with President Biden, to serve on the National Advisory Council for Indian Education, which advises the U.S. Department of Education. I also serve as an elder on the Oregon American Indian Alaska Native Advisory Council. So I've had, from being a classroom teacher, district administrator of an Indian Ed program, serving in 3 states, Oregon for over a decade, Washington, and Wisconsin. I have a broad perspective of strategies that work. I worked at Northwest Regional Lab when we created the Indian Reading Series, which was a collection of 137 stories written and illustrated by 23 tribes throughout the Northwest. So I know curriculum well. I know Senate Bill 13, Indian History Shared History, is one of the efforts that could be supplemented with the bond funds. But what's really important to us as Native people is a place. We are people of the land. And because of the land that we gave up, we were guaranteed certain kinds of services in perpetuity, which means education services. Because formal education was imposed on our community, many of our communities and our children and families have suffered historical trauma because they've seen schooling as, a foreign enterprise. When we work with our Native children, we've had children say to us, I could have done so much better in school if only somebody would have told me how important it was. So we think that bringing our community together, not having them dispersed across a large urban district, is one of the strategies that would work. I've also provided in-service with at least a dozen Native schools throughout Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana, and every school that we worked with could show significant gains and improvement once we were finished with our school improvement cycle. I've also, when I was head of the Salem Indian Ed program, increased the graduation rate from 4 students in the first year to 16 students in the second year. We know what works for our kids, and we want a chance to prove it to you. Let us have a site. Let us implement curriculum. Let us help educate other teachers and administrators in the district. We can be good colleagues and supports and help build advocacy. And I think basically skill sets for all educators and all of our students. All of us need to know more about the history of this place and the people who contributed to the building of this country. So we are pleading with you, will you please consider our request strongly? I love Wilson High School, but there is no place in the district that will serve our Native kids. We need to have those bond funds to get started. Miigwech and Pinigigi, thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Rob Galanikis.
Thanks. My name's Rob Galanakis, Galanakis. I'm a PPS parent, PTA president, bike bus captain, though I'm speaking today in a personal capacity. I very much appreciate the extensive planning PPS has done around the 2025 General Obligation Bond. I'm a supporter of public education and know that a good public education requires investment. The projects included in the bond all seem worthy and beneficial. I'm also, however, a believer that public institutions must be good stewards of our tax dollars. Unfortunately, passing a $1.8 billion bond without raising the levy rate would involve a 32-year authorization and paying $1.7 billion of interest. This was in the December 2nd bond presentation as option E1. I want to make sure everyone is aware this is not an 8-year bond. This is a 32-year bond. The debt is not retired until 2058. This is long, even for a municipal bond. I also want to make sure everyone understands we're not raising $1.8 billion of revenue under this plan. We're raising $3.5 billion of revenue and giving almost 50% of it to banks, not students. By passing this bond, we'd be setting in stone a poor future. There will simply be no way to pay for a bond like you're proposing today, even though future needs will be similarly great. We'll be giving future families the choice of significantly higher taxes or foregoing vital capital improvements. Yet this same choice is the one we face today. We're asking future school boards and voters to be more financially responsible or generous than we're willing to be ourselves. We need to come to terms with the fact that we don't have the money to pay for everything our kids deserve. The board should reduce the size of the bond to $1.5 billion and increase the levy rate so we can continue to fund our schools into the future and aren't wasting $1.7 billion taxpayer dollars on debt fees. If the current proposal goes forward, we'll have a choice in May between voting no to underfund our schools today or voting yes to underfund our schools in the future. Give Portlanders a better choice. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Chelsea Riordan.
Hi. Hi, my name is Chelsea Riordan, Riordan, and I'm proud to be here today, not only as a graduate of Ida B. Wells or Wilson, but also as a parent who moved across the country to return to this incredible community and raise my children here in Portland, Oregon. I know firsthand the impact this school can have, but not just on individual students, but on the entire community. That's why I'm here to talk about the importance of full and equitable funding for the remaining public high schools that are due to be remodeled. Our children deserve a school that can meet their evolving needs, a place where they can grow academically, socially, emotionally. A new high school is more than just brick and mortar. It's an investment in our future. It's a commitment to providing our young people with the tools and resources and opportunities to thrive. Think about the students of today, the future leaders, thinkers, and innovators. We owe it to them to offer more than outdated facilities and crowded classrooms. A new high school would get them access to modern spaces for learning, improve mental health, support, and expand extracurriculars. Whether it's sports, arts, music, or debate, these programs are vital in helping our kids discover their passions and build connections with each other and the world around them. But it's not just about the students, it's about the entire community. For Ida B. Wells, it already serves as an anchor for Southwest Portland, bringing people together through the tracks and the fields, the farmers market, and countless other events. Imagine what a new purpose-built school could do, offering even more opportunities for community involvement, collaboration, and support. A vibrant, thriving high school isn't just to teach our kids, it strengthens the fabric of the neighborhoods that it serves. This is our chance to give Portland's next generation the education and the resources that they deserve to make sure they have a place that they can dream, grow, and ultimately shape the future. Let's invest in their success and their well-being and their connection to each other and the community. This school isn't just the building, it's a foundation for everything that comes next. Thank you.
Chair Wong.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, it is now at time 5. It's at 5:47. We're scheduled to. Do we have any more people who signed up before the ahead of time on the list?
We had 4 people left who signed up but were unconfirmed in that second section. We had spots that were confirmed and then more spots unconfirmed.
So you know, board members need some break time before the next meeting. Could we do one more off that list and then be really strict about 2 minutes? Is that good with everyone? All right, let's just do one more. They're not confirmed. Well, did they?
We had 10 spots that were confirmed, and then we had we offered another set of spots that, depending on how many people signed up, we told them that we'd put them on the list, but they weren't confirmed if there was time.
All right, let's just do one more.
Okay.
Take a break. Yep.
Sophia Morrow Lavelle.
Hi, my name is Sophia Morrow Lavelle, Mauro space Levelle. I'm a sophomore at Cleveland High School, and I play soccer for the JV girls team. I also play oboe and flute in Cleveland Symphonic Band. My sister is in 4th grade at Llewellyn Elementary, a CHS feeder school. I am concerned that the budget cuts for the Cleveland remodel are unjust. Why do we not get a school that is similar in quality to the other redone schools? We have waited as the rest of the new schools we have waited as the rest of the high schools are given new schools. We have supported our fellow high schools, voting to help pass bonds despite being held off until the last minute. We went through numerous design plans, held what felt like billions of meetings to design a new building that would be of equal quality to the others. Now, after all this time waiting and watching, we are told that our budget is to be cut. How is that fair? Our student body continues to outgrow our failing school. Our cafeteria has a leaking ceiling and fits less than a quarter of our student body. Most of us eat lunch in the hallways because of how little room there is. Our library can fit maybe 80 people at most. Ceiling tiles fall on our heads, and rats and mice infest the classrooms. Yet despite the failing buildings surrounding us, we are still one of the best schools in the state, being ranked 5th in state this year. We have an incredible band and choir program, with our top band becoming the first PPS school to get 3rd in state. We have a successful and thriving IB program and numerous sports teams. The fact that we can accomplish all of these things with the learning conditions we currently have is a miracle. But soon, and it will be soon, families will stop going to Cleveland due to the conditions. I acknowledge that I will never get to experience this new Cleveland. I will never get an actual band room instead of a repurposed choir room. I will never get to eat lunch in the cafeteria, instead eating in the hallways. But my sister and her classmates, as well as the rest of the future students, deserve a school that will help them grow and thrive. Think about this choice logically. The bond will not be passed if we, Cleveland families, believe that the new Cleveland will be lesser than the others. As a current student of Cleveland and a sister to a future one, I ask you to vote for the future of Cleveland students. Thank you.
circle. And then, yeah, because ran a little late, against my fault. I think I'm gonna call for the next meeting to start at 6:05, so people have enough time to get some food and go to the bathroom if they need to. Thank you. All right, thank you everyone for coming. Your public comments are very valuable input for the board and for leadership. This public comment session is adjourned. We'll reconvene again at 6:05 for the regular board meeting.